Hey, what's going on, guys? So I want to bring up something here because we just had some protesting in the state of Michigan, and I wanted to point out something that I think is really important for us to understand. Those who are liberty-minded, those who care about freedom, and who want genuine freedom, we need to really understand the dynamics that are taking place, because with certain individuals there's a cognitive dissonance that's happening within their mind. They're saying they want one thing and then supporting the very thing that is preventing them from getting what they want. And my goal, at least in this little video, is to try to point out the distinction and to try to maybe get some of those people who maybe have never thought about this or don't know, maybe to try to get them to understand and figure out whether or not their beliefs are actually aligning with their actions. So that way we can try to get what we want out of this whole situation. So what I want to talk about is there was a protest in Lansing, Michigan. The other day, a couple women went in there to just merely observe what, the authorities were doing. I don't know everything about it, but I think that they had some sort of legislative thing going on or whatever, and as members of the public, they wanted to view and kind of tell them what they thought about it or whatever, and they were literally violently thrown out of there. Okay. Now, they weren't violently thrown out of there by any of the bureaucrats or politicians. That's not who did it. It wasn't a lawmaker who threw them out. Okay? It wasn't a governor. It wasn't a secretary of state. It was an order-following police officer. Okay? And I'm going to show you some case law right now that will kind of guide you to the realization that these order followers are not here to protect you at all. And I really, really, really want to try to get you to understand that, because you are not going to achieve freedom by continuing to support these people under the erroneous belief that they're here to protect you. That's just incorrect. And we can prove this. We can prove this very easily. So this is I'm going to get into that. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to show you this case law, and then I want to talk about the rest of the protest in Michigan. Okay, so let's divert our attention over to here. Hopefully you guys can see this. I kind of have a makeshift situation going on. Okay, so right here. Here's one that happened. This is Warren versus District of Columbia. Okay. Now, let's go to the decision. I forgot exactly what happened. It says it all in here. You can look it up, but let's just go to the point right here. Here's the decision. The District of Columbia Court of Appeals affirmed the trials court's dismissal of the complaints against the District of Columbia and individual members of the Metropolitan Police Department based on the public duty doctrine, ruling that the duty to provide public services is owed to the public at large, which is super vague. That's what? Okay, what is that? And absent a special relationship between the police and an individual, no specific legal duty exists. So what they're saying is the police don't have a duty to protect individuals, but they have this vague, responsibility to provide public services to the public at large. which that is just so vague. That could be anything. You know what I'm saying? They could be saying, oh, well, we have a duty to, issue citations to make sure that you're safe. That's our public service that's being provided to you. Okay. I think this individual got beat up at a red light or something like that, and the cops didn't do anything about it. Okay, here's another one. A federal judge in South Florida tossed out a lawsuit filed by more than a dozen students from this high school right here. This is Parkland. You guys probably should already know there was a mass shooting of some sort where this guy right here killed 17 people. And the police made an excuse saying, because they were cowards and they didn't do anything, and they literally allowed a bunch of people to die, and the people were mad about it. And once again, the court ruled that they don't have a duty to protect you. Here's another one. This is, which one is this? Justice rules police do not have a constitutional duty to protect someone. I mean, you can look all of these things up, I mean, you can look all these things up and find these out. I just wanted to show you a couple scenarios to kind of get you to understand what's going on. Because, what I want to point out is when you see the people being fed up with what the government is doing, when you see those dynamics taking place, what you're going to see is one thing happen every time. You're going to see the people organize, okay, and say, what you're doing is immoral, and we don't think you should do it, and you should stop, okay? And then you have the masters, the legislators, the authorities, all those people, the one without guns, standing on the other side, okay? And the people are trying to communicate their message to them. But in between them, you have the blindly obedient order followers, and these are the police, okay? And the police are always the ones, even if they think that it's wrong, they still do it. This should show you how totally unconscious these individuals are. That they literally will prevent you from exercising your freedoms just because someone told them to do it. For they're doing it, they are oppressing you for a paycheck, all right? And you need to wake up and realize this. Because if you're still supporting law enforcement, dude, you got it backwards. You're not going to get what you want. If you want freedom and you're still supporting law enforcement at this point in time, I don't care if you have a friend that's in law enforcement, a family member, I don't give a shit. If you are still supporting them, you are supporting the people that are enforcing slavery on everyone else. Because all these tyrannies that happen, they may be ordered by tyrants, okay? But they're never actually conducted by the singular individual tyrant. Someone like Hitler, someone like Gretchen Whitmer, okay, someone like, Governor Cuomo. I mean, the list goes on. There's just so many of these kinds of people. But they're not the ones that are actually bringing the physical harm into manifestation. It's not them. They're not the ones doing it. The real tyrants are the police. That's who it is. All right? Those are the only people that are standing in the way of your freedom. Those are the people that are literally enforcing slavery onto everyone. And I want you to try to understand that. I know there's been so much propaganda that's been, you went through over 12,000 hours of indoctrination through public education to tell you that the police are there to protect you, that the government loves you and cares about you. And I know you've dealt with a lot of that. Most of us have. But we have to use truth, logic, and reason and really be able to look at situations and to be able to interpret them properly. Most of the people out there, they don't know how to interpret who's right and who is wrong. They're basing it off who did the behavior. If the behavior that was conducted by somebody in a uniform with a badge, then it was automatically moral and legitimate. All right? But if someone without the authority of the state, the fictional authority of the state, did that exact same behavior, they would be labeled a criminal, which means that the whole idea of these order followers is to justify the initiation of violence. That's what it is, because they legalize it, and then it makes it okay because everyone believes in this fictional thing called law and all this stuff. And we have to look at the way that they word certain things. They're setting up this whole surveillance grid on us. All right? And whenever they talk about that, do me a favor, just do this. When they talk about that, when they talk about safety, just take the word safety out and then put the word control in. And then it'll all fall together. Because whenever they're talking about keeping you safe, they're talking about controlling you. All right? You can't protect someone against their will and without their consent. It's no longer protection. You literally need the person's consent in order to protect them. If you're not, then you're raping them in whatever degree. Okay? So, specifically with, my Michiganders, we have to look at what's going on. You guys are, attempting to ask the tyrants to legalize freedom, and obviously that's not working. They're still doing whatever they're doing. They're continuing to do it, and they're not letting back at all. But the only people that are preventing the people who want freedom is the Michigan police. Anyone in the Michigan police. All right? Where are all the good cops that went and arrested that one cop who literally violently threw that woman out of the chambers? By force, dude. She tumbled and rolled on the ground, and she was kind of a bigger girl, you know what I'm saying? You have to put a lot of force and effort to throw somebody across a room like that. Where were there were literally a group of police officers who stood there like robots and didn't do shit. You want to know why they didn't do anything? Because no one told them to do anything. They're literally waiting there like robots to just be told what to do. They don't act on their own. They don't act based on their own conscience. They don't say, this is moral. I'm going to conduct this behavior because I truly believe it's moral. No, they stand there like, when you hold a treat in front of a dog and the dog is just waiting there to be obedient towards you? He's just waiting for you to give him a command so he can eat that treat and get that prize. That's exactly what those guys are. They're not going to act unless the master tells them to act. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So you need to withdraw your consent for these guys. Because if you want freedom, you cannot support the police, dude. Not at this time. Maybe you could justify it a while ago. Okay? Maybe. But even still, that, I don't know about that. that still probably wouldn't be a good idea. You know. So I just kind of want to point that out. Look and see what's going on. Look and see who are the politicians arresting women for being in the park with their children? Politicians aren't doing that, but cops are. You know, who's enforcing the stay-at-home orders? Who's extorting people? It's the cops. All right? And not a single cop has arrested another cop for violating his oath. The only time you can find a good cop arresting a bad cop is for like drunk driving or something like that. You know? And even then they're so light on them, and half the time they get away. They get away with it. Alright? This is a violent gang, okay? That has each other's back, and they're organized. Alright? You need to understand that. Because if you want freedom, you need to know who the people are that are taking your rights. If you say, I want freedom, but you're supporting the people that are taking your freedom away, you're not going to get freedom, man. You got to know who the enemy is. All right? So, I'm not saying you need to just... really, to gain freedom, there is no violence that's required. Seriously, we don't need to do that. These people are they're such a small, minute part of society that they are seriously irrelevant. If we just lived our life as free people and said, no, you know what? I don't feel an obligation to give you a part of my income. No, you know what? I don't think I need to pay you property taxes. I own this house. This is mine. If just 4%, probably even less of a percentage of the population did that, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. They wouldn't be able to do anything. And I want to show you something too. Check this out. And this is proof right here that they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Okay, so what he says at the beginning right here, Governor Cuomo says everything we're doing is basically voluntary. And you're probably not going to find this video online. But because YouTube has wiped it out. But this is true. What he says, I don't trust this guy. This guy is obviously a tyrant. But what he says is 100% true.
Everything we're doing is basically voluntary on behalf of people, right? State government, local government, federal government doesn't have the power to enforce stay-at-home orders. If 19 million people said, I'm going out today, they would go out.
The ONS rates are people who got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected.
Technically, even if you...
So, yeah. Right there, he said, yeah, if you just decided to live your life as a free person, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. You know? So keep that in mind. Once you understand what is right and what is wrong, then you can change your behavior towards the course of truth and do what's right. And then once you do what's right, just defend yourself accordingly. That's all you have to do. But you don't need to have some crazy revolution or anything like that. You just say, you know what? I want to be free, and I'm going to live free, which involves disobeying tyrants. All right? So hopefully that kind of helped, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying the best I can, guys, to kind of disperse some of this information and get people to wake up a little bit. So if I can help just one person, you know, that's good enough for me. I'd like to help as many as I can. So, all right, guys, stay armed and stay free.